Alright everyone, the Fusion event in Raid Shadow Legends has officially gone live. In fact, you can actually see the little icon here by the portal of the Fusion champion. And if we go to the portal, you guys will see here in the Fusion menu, she's right there at the top. And we actually have some new information about this as well. And I am super happy to see the fact that she is actually a defense-based champion. This is absolutely awesome. I will admit here that I did not think that they were going to actually switch her over to a defense-based champion. I thought that it was just a typo by Ranger Mur. That felt like that was the more likely scenario, especially given that both sets of the leaked images still had her as an attack-based champion, but she is defense-based, which is awesome. So you can see here as well the actual champions that you'll need in order to fuse her, and I'll get into an important point about this here in a second, because if you take a look at this list of champions here, there is a very big note between Cantor the Cyclone and her fusion and the champions needed for her, and some of the last fusions that we have had. Now, if we actually get into her skill kit here, you guys will see that her stats are a little bit different because, of course, they changed her from a attack-based champion to a defense-based champion. So in the leaked images, if you saw them, she had a lot more attack. That obviously wouldn't make sense. So now that she is a defense-based champion, they went and altered her stats so that she has more defense. And the good news as well is if you do end up getting her, she's going to be a bit easier to gear, because now when you actually get defense on her, you're not only going to be building her to be more tanky, but she's also going to do more damage as well. Now, in terms of her actual skills, let's take a look at the passive here. Good news is, of course, it still has all that crazy stuff that you guys saw in the, hopefully in one of my last videos with the second set of leaked images. And the difference is actually the Ascended skill here. That's why the first set of leaked images didn't actually have all this additional info, is it seems like it didn't have the info on the additional stuff that she got when you got her to a 3-star ascension. So if you want to unlock the crazy stuff about her, which is all these additional effects that she's going to get, you will have to actually get her up to 3-star ascension. But that shouldn't really be too big of a problem. 3 stars I don't think is really that bad. But man, this passive is absolute insanity. It really is. Super happy to see that it is still the same. Now, getting back to the other skills here, they are also still the same. Attacks one enemy 2 times. Each hit has a 40% chance of stealing 1 random buff from the target. And you can actually boost that 40% chance to 60% with the skill books, but then again 65% with skill books and the mastery pass, the sniper mastery. There we go. And now her second ability, this is the crazy one here with all of the debuffs, and it is an AoE that attacks 3 times. By the way, the multiplier on this skill is 1.2, but it's 1.2 for each of those attacks. So it's actually 3.6. The multiplier for her skill 1, by the way, is 2.0, but she attacks twice, so it's actually 4.0. So that's definitely not a bad multiplier for an AoE, especially on a defense-based champion. And she also has all these crazy debuffs attached onto it as well. Each head has a 50% chance of placing one of the following block buffs: decrease attack, decrease speed, weaken, decrease accuracy, and heal reduction. Now, another really important note about these debuffs is that they are all the strong version. A lot of these debuffs here have a weak version and a strong version, and by that I mean like the decrease attack. This one is the 50% one, which is the strong one. The weak one would be 25%. I think 15% for speed, 15% for weaken, 25 for decrease accuracy, and 50% for heal reduction. So that's really, really good news right there. And the fact that she has this ability and it works so well with her actual passive is great news, because what that means is you don't really have to rely on other champions in order to really get a ton of usefulness from her. This is a big problem, I think, with some of the last fusions that we had. You know, champions like Gerptok, Mossbeard, which, you know, arguably some people say he is a good champion. Some people say he's really not that good of a champion, but you really needed to use other champions to get a lot of his usefulness from. So especially newer to mid-game players, if they didn't have the champions that you actually needed in order to get his full usefulness, then it wasn't really a fusion that was going to be worth going after so much. Well, the good news about Cantor the Cyclone is she works off of her own skill kit here. She synergizes with herself. Her second ability here is going to not only provide all these debuffs, but it's going to allow her to get the benefit from her passive. And this is going to make her super, super tanky right here. And I absolutely love this skill kit. Really interested in order to actually get her, test her out, and see what areas of the game she's going to be very strong, and maybe take a look at some areas of the game that she might not be as strong. Now, something that I did take note of already without even getting her is because all the debuffs are applied on an AoE, this is going to be the kind of champion that really gets a massive power benefit and also a tankiness and survival benefit by being able to attack multiple enemies. So areas of the game like Spider, or even just dungeons, because you have those first 2 waves of trash before you actually get to the boss, you know, those are going to be the spots where I think she's going to end up getting the most usefulness from, not only by being able to apply all these debuffs, but from this right here. It's absolutely crazy, and I think areas of the game where you're only going to be able to attack one target doesn't mean that she's going to be bad or anything like that. She's still going to be applying all her debuffs and whatnot, but you might not see quite as much usefulness and survivability in those situations compared to situations where you can attack tons of stuff at once. So then, of course, as well, her passive here increases ally accuracy in all battles by 60, which is great. If you do decide to actually use her for the aura, then you can tweak your gear on your champions to not have to get as much accuracy and maybe be able to get other stats like crit chance, crit damage, or so on and so forth. So really like her skill kit, really interested in order to actually test her out. But now let's take a look at the champions that you need in order to actually get her. And this is really going to play a major role in kind of answering that question, is she worth it? Because there is a huge difference between the champions that you need for her versus the fusions we've had in the past. And if you take a look at it here, you know, honestly, there's just really not that many great champions. You know, I would say arguably the best epic is probably honestly Basher. And Basher, he's good. Some people might say he's top tier. He's definitely not bad or anything. He does have that strong weaken on his skill 1. He's got the cooldown that he can place on enemies on his skill 2 here and block buffs. But, you know, he's probably one of the best champions here. Unfortunately, he's the only epic that I'm missing. And on top of that, I'm missing the rare in order to actually get him as well. Look at that. I have every single rare, 15 out of 16 of them for this fusion, except for Basher, the only epic that I'm missing, and the only rare that I need in order to get Basher. So this is a little bit annoying, but I'm really hoping that the event for the Steadfast Marshal actually comes out sooner rather than later. But, you know, besides that, all these other champions here, they're just really not super strong. Maybe there's 1 or 2 here that might be useful in a couple of situations, but the main point that I'm trying to say here is if you guys are going for this fusion, you don't really have to feel that bad about it if you decide to use these champions for the fusion rather than keeping them for yourself. I know that's a big problem, especially newer to mid-game players have with some of the previous fusions. And in previous fusions, we had a lot of really good rares and epics that people probably rather would keep than getting the actual fusion champion. Like with Gerbtalk Mossbeard, I'd say for a lot of people going for that fusion, it was better to keep certain champions like Frozen Banshee if they didn't have it, Reliquary Tender. Those are just a couple examples off the top of my head. There were so many more really good rares in that fusion that were probably going to be more useful to people, but this champion, you don't really have to worry about it that much. So it really kind of depends what champions you actually have available right now, what champions you are missing, and very importantly as well, what champions are going to come out when we actually get the schedule, which should be popping up in the news section right here sometime in the next few hours. Very importantly, make sure that you guys take a look at this and kind of calculate to yourself, figure it out, write it down, whatever you have to do, what champions you already have for the fusion, and then what champions you are going to need for the fusion to complete it. You want to do this before actually going for the events, because you never want to find yourself in a situation where, imagine the fusion event just ended right now, and I had all these champions for the fusion except for this one guy right here. Well, that's it. I cannot not do the fusion now. If you're missing just one champion, even if it's a rare, that won't let you fuse the epic, and now you can't actually fuse the legendary. So you really need to get it all, or you get absolutely nothing. So take a look at what you have, take a look at the events, and how much resources it's actually going to take in order for you to complete it when they do come out. And if you guys want me to, I could put out another video tomorrow or sometime soon that actually goes through the exact amount of resources that you're going to need to complete this fusion here, because I know, especially to those of you guys who are newer, resources can be, you know, it's not easy to save up the resources for these fusions. So you really want to plan it out, make sure that you can commit before you even begin. That's super important. And I will also say, summoning event. There's going to be another summoning event coming with this fusion, and don't find yourself in the trap of thinking you can get every single champion for the fusion, but then realizing that you're not going to be able to actually get these summoning champions for the fusion. So if you don't have the shards and you have no way of getting the shards, you might want to hold off until you actually know all that information before you start to go for it. I would say if you can go for it, if you've got the resources and you're going to be able to go for it, I'd say it's worth it, but just make sure that you don't commit until you know that you can actually do it. Now, getting into the events that we actually do have available here, we've got this champion training and the artifact enhancement, which is going to pop up here in 30 minutes. And this champion training, it's a big one, but that's how they always do these when fusions come out. 30,000 points, 2 weeks. So if you want to actually complete the champion training, you're going to need to get, between 2,000 to 2,500 points per day, but you don't need to get that many if you're just going for the champions. Bushi is the epic here. You need 20,225 points for him, and if you don't even need Bushi and you just need certain rares, then you need anywhere between 1,550 points to 12,575. And another thing about these actual events here, specifically for fusions, is the rewards. They're pretty lackluster, right? I mean, you still have a Void Shard and a Legendary Skill Tome, but 30,000 points just to get a Void Shard and a Legendary Skill Tome is really, really rough. So, because out of these, 12 actual reward slots, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them are specifically reserved for fusion champions. So almost half the rewards for this are just for the fusion, which is why it's kind of like a combination of a requirement for the fusion and rewards. So, that's something to be mindful of. It's still stuff, but it's not as much as you would normally get if this were just a regular 30,000 points champion trading. So, yeah, that's a big one there. Anyway, though, that is a lot of information, and like I said, if you guys want me to, when we actually get the calendar in-game, which should be popping up in the next couple hours, I can kind of go through all the resources that you will need for the fusion, kind of do the math, crunch it all for you guys so that you don't have to do it yourself, especially things like Ascension Potions. The good news is, though, it's even a requirement of all of the affinities, it looks like. So you're going to need the same number of Ascension Potions for every affinity for this fusion, which is kind of nice to make it a little bit easier. But that's going to be it for this video for today, or for now. More coming soon. But if you guys enjoyed and you want more videos like this in the future, consider subscribing to the channel. Feel free to leave a quick like as well. It really does mean more than you can imagine. So a huge thank you to all of you guys who take the quick quarter of a second or so to leave a like. Really, really do appreciate it. Don't click that clan icon, by the way. That's on my screen. I see comments of people saying that they try to click buttons on my screen thinking that it's theirs. But yeah, anyway, I know some people might do that, so I thought I would let you know. More raid videos should be popping up on the screen as well. Feel free to check them out or in the suggested videos to your right or below. But that's going to be it once again. Have a fantastic day. Take care. This is Salt of the Salty Guild, signing out.